Hi everyone, this is Dr. Nitin Chhoda and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. Thank you so much for being a viewer and a subscriber. Folks, I've had a lot of time to actually think about what's going on in the White House, what the negotiations, how the negotiations are, what the Republicans are saying. As you know, President Biden is proposing the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Package. That's a lot of money. And the Republicans want to provide $618 billion. So that's for every $3 up here, there's $1 down here. And there has been reporting from the Wall Street Journal recently that the president is open to narrower income thresholds, lower income thresholds, so that less people get the checks. In fact, here's a headline on your screen from the Wall Street Journal that says Biden signals openness to sending $1,400 stimulus checks to a smaller group of people. President told House Democrats, and in fact, he's been saying the same thing to Republicans as well. He will not change the amount of the stimulus checks in the proposed stimulus package. Now, I've been covering this news for a while, and Joe Manchin, the conservative Democrat, there he is. What's up, Joe, from West Virginia? Wanted the stimulus checks to be more targeted. And by the way, if some Republicans like Rick Scott from Florida, there he is. What's up, Rick? And our best friend Rand Paul from Kentucky. I don't think he's anybody's best friend, but Rand Paul from Kentucky, there he is. What's up, Rand? If they have their way, there'll be no more stimulus checks. That's it. No stimulus checks, zip, nothing. But I've had a chance to really think about this, and it seems like the Biden administration is willing to lower the income threshold from $75,000, where it is in the American Rescue Plan, down to $50,000. Now, here's the thing. Even though economically this might make more sense, because let's be clear, someone making less money is more likely to spend the stimulus check, and someone making more money is more likely to save the stimulus check. There's no doubt about that. If you're up at $75,000, you're more likely to save. And if you're down here below $50,000, you're more likely to spend because you need the money. So I've had a lot of time to think about this, because a lot of economists have been reporting that, hey, the stimulus needs to go out, but it needs to be targeted to those who are lower income. And while there is consensus that some will spend and others will save, I've had a long time to think about this, and let me give you my thoughts on this. I don't believe the income threshold should be lowered. I do not believe that the threshold should be lowered from 75,000 down to 50,000. And I'll tell you why. There are a few reasons for this. I'll start with the first reason. Number one, I believe the Republican Party is playing games. Now, the reason I say this is because even if President Biden agrees to lower the threshold down to 50,000, you'll get Rand Paul right there complaining. You'll get Rick Scott from Florida right there complaining. The Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell might complain, and it's just going to go on and on and on and on and on. Because I believe that the Republicans will not vote for a large stimulus package, even if the income thresholds are lower. Now, when I say the Republicans, I'm talking about several Republicans. Now, there are some Republicans like Senator Susan Collins from Maine, like Senator Bill Cassidy from Louisiana, like Senator Mitt Romney from Utah, who may go along with it, because these individuals were part of the 10 Republican lawmakers who met with President Biden. There's President Biden. How are you, President Biden? Now, they might get on board, but many other Republican senators will simply try and get in the way. So, because I believe the Republican Party is playing games, I believe it makes no sense to lower the income threshold for the stimulus checks, even though the White House has signaled a willingness for it. This is an indication we've had from the president, President Biden, as well as if you've been watching my videos, as well as comments from the White House press secretary Jen Psaki. The second reason why I think the threshold should not be lowered is people are struggling and they need help. I'm going to repeat that. It's important. People are struggling and they need help. So what if somebody made $75,000 a year, and let's say a married couple make 150? Maybe they have all sorts of expenses, not knowing that they would lose their jobs, not knowing that a pandemic would hit them, not knowing that their entire lives would have been upended. Maybe there are families that make more than $200,000, $250,000 a year, including adult children who are living with their parents and making money. So what? That's not going to be a majority of the people. That is going to be a smaller portion of the population. And who's to say, who's to judge that they don't need help? You can't judge that. I can't judge that. I believe people are struggling and people need help, which is why I believe the income threshold should stay the same. So number three is going to be the political reality of the situation. The political reality is that the Democrats have enough votes. Remember, in the Senate, there are 50 Republicans and there are 50 Democrats. Guess what? The Democrats have 51 votes, including the vote of the Vice President Kamala Harris. There she is. Hello, Vice President Harris. The Democrats have 51 votes to be able to pass this $1.9 trillion package through reconciliation. They should just do it because they don't need the Republicans to help them. I think it's very, very, very important that the Democrats do something and do it quickly, where it can recover and not only get back to the same stage where we were pre-pandemic, but possibly become even better than we were pre-pandemic. Number 4, and this is the big one, zero interest rates. I mean, the interest rates aren't quite zero, but they're close to zero. So zero interest rates, what that basically means is it's very cheap to borrow money, which, by the way, is why the stock market is going up, why we've had the GameStop situation, why home prices are skyrocketing, why the prices of assets are inflating. This is why, because money is so cheap to borrow, this is why this is the best time for us to borrow money. Remember, when money is borrowed, it's not the amount of money that's borrowed that should be a problem. It is the monthly expense of servicing the loan that should always be the number one consideration. When I take a loan for one of my single family homes, I borrow money at 3%. But then I make 14-15% on that money through the rental income. When I buy stocks on margin, I don't do a whole lot of that, but when I do, because of the broker that I use, I pay anywhere from 1% to 1.5% as a margin cost. But my stocks make 30, 40, 50% a year. Similarly, if you can borrow money cheaply, which is what the government is able to do. By the way, the reason the government can borrow money cheaply is because the Federal Reserve can essentially make up the rules, and then the government can essentially control the rate at which it borrows money thanks to the Federal Reserve. So if we can borrow money cheaply and we can pay it back in the future with essentially less expensive dollars, then that's the way to go. I want our viewers and subscribers to remember something. Tomorrow's dollar is weaker than today's dollar. If I give you $100 today, it's much more valuable for you today than it is 2 years, 3 years down the road. Not only because you'll get the money later, but because $100 is not going to have $100 of purchasing power 3 years down the road. 3 years down the road, because of inflation, you'll probably need $104, $105. So borrow today and pay back with tomorrow's weaker dollars, which is why it makes the most sense. And the final reason, and the biggest reason, no one cares about partisanship. You don't care, I don't care. We care about a check. We care about food on the table. We care about paying rent. We care about keeping the lights on. In the end, no one's going to remember President Biden's promises of partisanship. No one's going to remember all the stonewalling from the Republicans. In fact, if anything, we want to forget about all this. We're going to remember the check. We're going to be able to remember the fact that we could feed our family, the fact that we could pay rent, the fact that we could pay the lights on, the fact that we weren't embarrassed, the fact that we weren't thrown out of our homes. This is an emotional subject for me because I've been homeless at one point in time in my life. So no one really cares about bipartisanship. We care about the government helping us, specifically helping those who need help the most at a time when it is needed the most, because this is when the government is supposed to come through for the American people. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope you learned something new. Please give me a like. I would really appreciate that. Also, please subscribe. Please enable notifications. That would mean a lot to me. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm. It makes me want to dance. If you want to see me dancing and if you want to see me break dancing, check this out. Okay, yeah, I know that was bad. So hopefully you haven't clicked out by now. If you're still watching, it means you haven't clicked out. But seriously, please give me a like. Please subscribe. That would help out a lot. I appreciate you. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Thanks. Bye.